Today's video, we're going to be changing this switch here and putting a decora. So first things first, this should be done by a licensed electrician. And make sure, first thing I do is make sure that power is off. So the breaker has been turned off to the power here. Let's go ahead and remove. So the reason I always come in here and do it from somewhere in here and not from the outside, not to scratch the paint, taking a screwdriver on the side. And if I see that it doesn't want to come off easily, I'll get a knife and score it around the perimeter again so that the paint doesn't come off. But what I do not like to do is get tight on the side here and scratch the paint. So you can do it from a little edge without touching the wall. If you see it doesn't want to come off easily, get a blade and cut the perimeter, or you're going to take paint with you, which should kind of happen here a little bit. Look, as much as I tried. Hopefully the new cover is going to be wide enough to cover it, because sometimes this could be not a regular size, it could be an oversized one, and the regular one that I'm putting now might be smaller, which it is. Luckily I got a couple of extra size of this decora that I'm changing, screwless decoras. But I don't even think the one I have, which is a little bit one step above, is going to cover that. I might have to get the jumbo one. But that's how it goes. So let's go. And of course, there's no light in here. That's why I'm using the flashlight. This has my breaker being off. I do a secondary thing and come with the contactless and make sure there's no power. And then after I pull it out, I check again to make sure there's no other wire back there that I couldn't see that might happen to be traveling through here and potentially could still be hot. I'm gonna have to replace the battery in there, charge it. So I go softly pulling out here, and you can visually tell that there's no more cables, but sometimes there's a bunch of wires. Stick it in there and check anything else in there. Sometimes I'm telling you, there's traveling wires going through. Not the case here, it's nothing else. So we're good to go. And we're safe. There's no. I'm gonna change the tip really quick. I'm gonna turn the camera a little bit. And let me change the tip on my drill to my favorite to work on outlets, receptacles, and it's the Robertson head and not Philip. So the reason I like it is because it will not jump. Oh, wait a minute. These were not even put through the bolts. But the reason I like it, and I'll show you when I'm putting it in the new one, I don't like using the Philip or the flathead of the screw, but I use the Robertson. These have 3 styles to put on and off. Robertson, Philip, and the flathead. So these are a pain in the butt. There is a little pin you can push in the back that'll release it, but they normally give you a hard time, and it's better just to cut it off like I'm gonna do. Sometimes they come off easily and sometimes they don't. So once I see that there's gonna be a little bit of a struggle, like right there, and I have enough wire, I'm just gonna cut it off. But let me see how much I can pull out first forcibly with this. Nothing's gonna come off, so they're getting cut. Sometimes you could wiggle like this and they come out also, and sometimes like now they do not. But when that happens, that's it. They're getting cut about half space. It's not a play with it there for a little bit. Let me do this one now. I'm gonna make a mess with these pieces here. And now I'm gonna do the bend that it should have been there. It was connected to the bolt. And these have this little hole here that you could come, put it in, and make. I'm doing it really uncomfortably here. Like, this is not done with two hands, but I'm doing it this way so you can see it on the video. Especially that I'm working here against the wall, so it's a little bit uncomfortable. And basically the same thing there, you put it through the hole and spin it. But because it's so uncomfortable here, I'm gonna go ahead and do it the old school way when that hole was not invented. So now let's go ahead and put a new switch here. Oh, so I'm back. I got me the receptacle. It's gonna go here. I'm gonna go ahead, just because of the norm, you're gonna put black in the gold and the white and the silver one. And of course, this doesn't take a ground. Let me move this out of the way. I'm trying to make it just be able to see some stuff here. It doesn't take a ground, and that's simple because the ground, it's already on the actual fixture. This is just relaying the power up there. With that said, check your local building code, because it might not be the same where you're at. But over here, there's no need to put a ground on the actual switch itself. So, you know, you always want to wrap it clockwise, not counterclockwise, so it doesn't like spread open. And then also, if you made the curve long enough, you crimp together, you know, you close in the end basically of the wire. And then the way I do it, even after tightening it with the drill, so I don't overdo it with the drill or underdo it, because, you know, it's hard to control. What I do is that I do it by hand. You know, I use the drill to go in as much as possible, and then the rest is done by hand, so I can give it what I feel is the appropriate torque. And again, I use Robertson flathead, but I was trying to explain earlier. The reason is because, in my opinion, Philip is always gonna, when jump. I mean, you got to put a lot of pressure for it not to jump. But eventually, once you're getting tight, if you notice, that's why the bolts usually get stripped, because Philip is conical, so it's not really locking in perfect. Flathead actually locks in better than Philip, but then the negative of flathead is that it can slide off to the sides when you're pressing. So that's why Philip was invented, because it keeps it right in the middle, you know, with those two triangle type going in. Then Robertson is the best because it's a square going into a square hole. So it locks in and it can't jump, it can't do anything. So anyways, that's my favorite screwdriver to use, the tip. Whatever, you know, you can get a bunch of different screwdrivers that have that square tip, but that's the number one, by the way, for here, because the square number two is the one for the wire that goes into the breaker, which is a big one. You know, it's a little bit bigger. Same thing on, like on Philip, there's number one, number two, and number three, and all that. So this one's number one as far as going with the Robertson, and number two if you're going to be using Philip, and number two if you're going to be using flathead also. Now with that said, you saw me switching. It's because I'm using this, which I'll put a link down below. My favorite screwdriver. This is the 11-in-1 from Klein. And although there are screwdrivers even from Klein and other manufacturers that have like 20 different pieces, the truth is you don't need 20, because it's things that you're never going to use. This actually has 11 of the things that you will use, especially for, you know, when it comes to electricians and HVAC, because it has the essentials like number one, number two square. It has number one, number two Philip, number one, number two flathead, but it also has a Torx 25, which is popular. And then it has what those that have a bunch here in the back don't have, you know, those that have like 20 something tips. Is that not only does it have that you could use this as a 1/4-inch nut driver, it has a 5/16 here. Flip the whole thing around, and when you remove this setup, it has a 3/8, and then you have a 1/2 inch here. And these nut drivers, when you're removing, especially on HVAC, panels and everything, it's just super handy. to have this one. And let me verify. I know I did it, but just to check. Okay. So we're good so far. Now we'll put the word top to the top. Let me get this ground that we're not using just in. Again, maybe in your area is required. And everything here, the 2 bolts and the ground, and when you're using the regular one for these receptacles, which I'll be doing this one next, that has 2 neutrals, 2 hots, 1 ground, and then even this in the front here, they are all, again, tri-bit, I guess you want to call it. You could use the Phillips flathead or the trusted Robertson. And why I use this little drill and not a nice big D-Wall or Milwaukee or Bosch or something is because this happens to be a very light drill for these applications that you don't need all this weight. Because you don't need that much power. Yes, could you use a teeny bit of more power? Yeah, but the extra weight comes along with it. Now, when you're putting these things in, which I've explained this in other videos, sometimes you gotta take the screws back out and twist it one way or the other. And it's because you want to manipulate those wires back there. Because if not, even though this is putting in straight, if the wires back there that are solid, especially when they're solid, which most of them are, very few times you find stranded there, it kind of pulls one way. Even if you're going straight, the wires are pulling the other way. So because I still haven't tightened them all the way, I'm still able to manipulate. If I can't do it enough, I'm going to have to remove the bolts all the way out and re-twist it in. But I try, whenever I'm going originally in, hold on, I try to put it in the position that I feel is the most straight. Now, let's see if my bigger cover is going to cover that extra excess there that lifted up. And when I say bigger, it's because the standard one, and I not only did I change to decora here all around the house, but I'm actually doing the decora with the covers that have no bolts. Because the normal decoras, which is these rectangular ones, they have bolts also, like the old toggles had. So here's the difference in size. The standard size will be a little bit smaller. That's because this one is not standard also. Now I got this one's a little bit bigger. I don't know if it'll quite make it. And you can tell that it's a little bit bigger. Now this one does even more, like jumbo up to here, which I might need for this case. So let me put it here in the front, just as a trial, and see what it's going to do. Yeah, it shows a little bit there on the side. But I could just get some touch-up paint for there. So we'll go with this. I'll go right there. By the way, this one in particular could go either way. They did the little indentures that coincide with this one down here to stick in a screwdriver when you're going to pop it out when you have to remove the plate. But some of them actually only have that in the bottom, and it'll say the words top here, so or inside. So pay attention, because some of these are directional, whether it's up and down. Not all of them are like this, that you can put it upside down, it doesn't matter. Let me get some little screws for this. Some of them come with the screws on already, depending on the manufacturer that you get it from. And some of them come in a little bag that I've thrown mine in here, but because it wasn't a big pack. So the bigger the packs, usually they're going to come like in little bags, but when you buy smaller amounts or different manufacturers, they'll already come like pre-put in there, you just held in there. So you don't have to be like I'm doing now, getting these screws out of a little bag. And I'll show you what I mean. What I mean by that, they already come put on here. They come out of the box when you open your plates. They're already there like that. And they don't fall off because they have like the thread kind of rubs up on them, So let's go right there. Now for these, you do have to get fillet. The plates are not don't have the ability to go with a flathead doing this at this weird angle just so y'all can see. And I don't even have it in the hole. Again, I'm at a weird angle here. I have my hand backwards and everything. Because if it wasn't for the fact that I'm here in front of here, I'd be standing from the other side working right-handed the way that I should, and I'd be out of the way of the camera. But the situation here is different. So these you don't want to super over tighten because it'll start to flex the plate. Once you see it starting to flex, it means you are going too far. It's gonna click. And that one's not clicking. There it goes. Okay, perfect. So that'll be it for this video. I'll have another video for it tomorrow. Changing this one over here. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe. Give me a like, thumbs up, and leave me a comment or any question. I get back to all my messages, and I will reach back. Have a good one.